Hello,
Hello.
Jackson.
I'm on the toilet!
What the fuck is going on? Make that the intro.
If you would pee in my mouth, I will also try that.
A little hairless cat that was being beaten by children.
What color panties are your favorite?
The sex scout. Well, welcome, Bob, to the 2B2T New Friend podcast. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Bob. I've been playing since 2019. I played on several accounts. Pie Guy Macca, Warhammer 40, this account, XRE, and Warhammer. No, I already said Warhammer.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a lot of accounts. I'd
It-
like
it
to
is,
know.
yeah.
I'd like to know how you started off on 2B. So, where did you find 2B for the first time?
I mean, everyone from 2019 doesn't really want to admit this, but it really is from, FitMC's videos. They started, circulating around that time, and that's when I joined.
Okay, and then when you joined, were you like the average new player, or how much knowledge did you have going into 2B?
Oh, I was the below average player. I didn't know what I was doing. I met some friends, luckily, and they kind of showed me how to, get future, and which helped a lot when the donkey dupe happened, and showed me how things work. So I was a slow learner, but I got the hang of it after a little bit.
Okay, what was your first memorable experience on 2B? Was it finding those friends that taught you the ropes?
So those two things are kind of intertwined. When I first joined, I remember it was like my first or second day, and I made it to the Nether, and I was by 0-0, not exactly there, and there was a dude from, I think it was Vortex. It could be from a different group, but he had these e-chests, right? And this is like mid 2019, so Baritone didn't take off yet, and he was having us mine the e-chests, and he said, you have to mine these and give us the obsidian or we're gonna kill you, right? So I was doing this for like 10-15 minutes. I was like, dude, this sucks. And there's another guy called the Walrus who I met. He was also new, and he was also mining these e-chests, and he messaged me when the guy wasn't really paying attention, that was like watching us, and he said, dude, let's just make a run for it. And I said, okay, let's make a run for it. And we took our inventory of e-chests we were supposed to mine, and we just booked it like as fast as we could down the highway, and the dude didn't notice until we were gone. And that was how I met my first buddy.
That's a very LARPy experience, especially for the first one.
It was surreal. It was, dude. It was fun though. It was memorable.
Was this around the time when Fit said for the first time in 2B2T history slave labor was used? Was this like while that was happening?
I think that was prior to when he made that video, but so slave labor at that time was dying off because baritone was coming into force, but it hadn't quite fallen off yet. People were still trying to use new guys to mine e-chests. So yeah.
Okay, but it's safe to say after that you did no more slave labor, right?
Oh, I stayed away from 0-0 for months after that.
Okay, well, with the guy that you escaped with, could you tell us who he was, and maybe have you done anything with him since?
I haven't talked to him in a few years because I rejoined just a few months ago, but he ended up joining the cult of the crafting table, and he was one of the guys who was part of the team that made one of the Axis's first highways all the way to world border on the Nether. If you remember that. He's a nice guy.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't remember much things from that time since I joined 2019, but I didn't really play actively ever.
I see. Yeah, he was more involved in groups than I was. I just like had my friends, and they were in groups, but I didn't really want to participate myself.
Okay, what kind of groups, or like with people that you knew, what groups were they in that you would like indirectly interact with, especially when you started?
Mainly, I don't know who the guy was that enslaved me, but I definitely interacted with Vortex a bunch because they had a thing where if you repaired highways, they'd give you kits, and I made some friends that way, and uh, the Cult of the Crafting Table being the other one just because of, you know, the Walrus Guy being in there.
Okay. That's a good name, the Walrus Guy.
Yeah, the Walrus Guy.
Okay, well, you've been saying that you haven't you weren't joining any groups. Did that ever change? Have you been in any like official groups in any capacity?
Yes, recently. So I rejoined a few months ago, and I mean, there's a huge like shift on the chat policy going on, like a month or two into my rejoining, and I got muted, and a bunch of people got muted, and it really annoyed me. So I ended up making Jam, the group, and I also co-founded a group called the Spawn Keepers, and we just maintain 0-0 in the Nether. Like we mine out all the trash, and we kind of ally with a bunch of PvPer groups, so they let us do that without killing us because they want 0-0 to be clean too. They can have a good time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Random question, but just like, what PvP groups were you allied with? Like, was it a large amount of them?
So I don't know if there's groups necessarily. Like there's like 97W, for example, his group. I'm not sure exactly what his group is. Like Bait. A bunch of the Teutonic Order guys are cool with me. It's like we invite them individually. We don't like really talk to the group, I guess. We just talk to the people there that we meet.
Okay.
There's a bunch of people who PvP at night that are Korean, and they're actually like the most chill, and we're cool with all of those guys.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. Which group would you say you're more proud of with the two groups that you've said you've started?
I would say Jam, just because it's really has a strong purpose. You know, we're trying to do a lot of good there. The Spawn Keepers, I'm also proud of, but it still is growing, and it's more like for my enjoyment. Really, I like cleaning 0-0 with my friends.
Okay, well, one thing I want to ask is, since you've said that Jam was like your favorite thing to make, how do you feel about how it's going right now?
Yeah, we're at an interesting point because I'm better at kind of bringing people together than actually being the leader, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I gave it to Crazy, and I think Crazy just is focusing on himself right now, which is understandable. This is a video game. So he's kind of gone, and Jam's just kind of reorganizing at the moment. So
Okay.
I think we're still, you know, doing good stuff and all that. We just need to shift some things around.
Yeah, and then do you plan on working on that a lot, or are you taking a more hands-off approach?
I'm kind of stepping up while Crazy's gone. I'm hoping he comes back, but I felt like, you know, I was responsible for this group because I'm the one who made it, and then I went hands off the first time and caused a lot of problems. So I'm hoping to just fill in until he returns.
Okay. You've mentioned a lot of people during the interview so far that you've met and kept in contact with on 2B. I'd like to know who's the person that you've played with or like associated with for the longest on 2B.
If you're talking just playtime, I would say I think you've met Medieval before. I sold him that account. We met each other originally because we're both in the military and we had a lot in common. And ever since then, like ever since I met him like 5 months ago, it's like every day I play with him. He's great.
Okay. And then off of that, since you said that was based on playtime, what about based on like importance? Who's the most like important in the 2B community that you have a connection to?
Oh, probably XCC2. I've known him like if you're talking about like notoriety.
Yeah, notoriety would
Yeah.
be a good place to start.
I knew him when I joined in 2019. I think I met him like once or twice, but I didn't really like I had his Discord, but I didn't really talk to him that much. When I rejoined this year and I started DMing him more and talking to him more, and actually interesting thing about this is one thing that Medieval and me are really into is remaking historical builds, like schematicking them off the archive, and we wanted to do that to XCC2's saucer build. So we messaged him and we were like, can we do this or whatever, what do you think? And he gave us like a full tour on the archive server of all his bases and gave us like all the history, and it was great. And ever since then, you know, he's been involved in our projects. We made a little Discord server for like me, him, Medieval, and like 3 other people who like doing this.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So, when I hear that, I'm like, doesn't that kind of count as a group, or is it more like just a group of friends?
It's like a group of friends. We like building it, and XCC is more like an advisor. He'll be like, good job, or, you know, this happened at this time on this base. And he'll just give us tidbits and encourage us, which is great. And the rest of us have a lot of fun building it. But it's not like a group. It's like a bunch of buddies.
Okay, I just got disconnected, but we can just continue the interview. I've actually gone to a couple XCC2 spawn bases. I can attest that he is really chill. I like him, but I've never talked to him. Does he actually VC? Since I don't think I've ever heard of him VCing at all.
Not anymore. I've never VC'd with him. I just talked to him on DMs. He's the only one in our group that doesn't, but bear in mind he has a wife and kids, and he's like 50 or something, so
Yeah.
he's really tied up with stuff. I'm sure he doesn't, you know, like the more notoriety you get on the server, it's like the more you kind of want to stay low key, I feel like, and that might be what he's going for.
Yeah. Do you feel like you want to be in a position more towards XCC2, or or is your plan like getting out there and getting your name known?
I would like to emulate him because he's like the coolest guy you've ever met, you know? Like he's a good head on his shoulders, he's wise. I would prefer to kind of emulate him, if that makes sense, instead of like just trying to be famous for famous' sake. I don't think that's not fun, that's not healthy, you know? But if you're enjoying yourself and people like enjoy being with you, that's really what it's all about.
Okay, so talking about that, what is your goal with playing 2B? Because normally with video games, there's usually like an end goal or like a win state, but with 2B, each player has a different thing that they view as the goal of like what to achieve on the server. I'd like to know what your goal with playing is.
It's a good question. I kind of joined without a goal in mind. But, you know, the more I played, especially after I rejoined, I felt like my goal was just to be like, have fun, you know, to meet fun people, to spend time with them.
Okay.
Kind of just enjoyment, I guess.
Okay, so it's more just like for fun. You don't have like some big picture goal that you want to achieve. I'd like to know with you talking about meeting new people, how many people do you think you've met that you like stay in contact with and like care about and talk to on Tubi?
I would say like half a dozen, about.
Okay. Well, okay, so another question I'd like to ask is, what is your greatest achievement in terms of scale that you've done on Tubi? Like, what's the most important thing you've done?
I'd probably go back to Jam because the muting thing was something that everyone grumbled about and everyone didn't like, but there wasn't really a place for people to go and like organize and push for any kind of reform. Like and I feel like it's significant because it gives people that. Like, if you just complain and grumble and like, dude, this sucks, like there's a 0% chance anything will happen. But if people really come together and organize, I think the chances go up a lot. And I gave, kind of just by coincidence, just me being, all mad that I got muted and and all salty. I feel like I gave people, something really meaningful out of that, which is awesome to me.
Yeah, so with you saying that you were salty when you got muted, is that like, was that what started off the group? Did it start just because you got muted and were salty about it?
Yeah, it did. I was like so mad because, last time I played, there's like BibleBot and there's like PressureBot and all these things in chat and all the time. And I rejoined. I was like, well, I can deal with bots not spamming, whatever. The shop's not spamming, whatever. But when they started muting people for expressing their opinions like on the regular, it made me annoyed because I remember, it's not like there are people who've played from 2019 to now. It's like more gradual, so they might not even notice. But for me, it's like I went from that to this, and that made me kind of upset because they market themselves as an anarchy server, right? But they're muting people for saying things they don't like, and I get it. Like, Mojang is going down hard on servers right now, especially with the whole can't have guns in texture pack thing. So I understand if they have pressure put on them, but the thing is, like, you can't. I think they're trying to, what's the term, have their cake and eat it too. They want to keep saying they're an anarchy server, also not put out any ways to try to repeal a mute, no timers, like no list of what can get you muted, right? And that has negative effects across the board. Like, one example off the top of my head is when iTristan was playing like on April 1st or April 2nd or something like that on an alt, and everyone figured out, oh, it's him on an alt. There's a guy who got muted just for messaging him. Didn't do anything wrong, and there's no way he can repeal that. There's no timer. It's just like he's fucked now. So that's my big problem with it.
Okay. On that note of like how the muting system has changed from 2019 to now, what do you think are the biggest differences between 2B2T in 2019 and 2B2T in 2023, excluding what we've already discussed?
I'd say it kind of like seems a lot more tame now, It doesn't mean it is more tame, but it just gives that impression. Like, the chat culture was a big part of what the server was, and I feel like with that kind of gone, it's like kind of dead, Like, you'll see people talk like a little bit, but you won't have those like 3 a.m. like tinfoil hat conversations with people anymore, which are awesome. Have like those crazy conspiracy guys getting clowned on, in chat, or just it affects the culture because chat is part of how we communicate with each other.
Okay, so do you think chat as a whole is just kind of like an important part of 2B as a whole?
Oh, for sure. I think it's like, it's like the main method of communication. It's how you meet people. It's how you express your views. Like 2B was that place where you could say anything, and maybe you'll get clowned on for it, but you could say anything you wanted. You could be whoever you wanted, and it's just not the case anymore.
Okay, and then with you talking about how things.
So I was wondering what bases you've helped rebuild in the past.
So I did the saucer twice, and that includes like the underground portion of the base.
Which one is the
Do you know
saucer?
what that is? The jungle saucer. It's like I think it's 2012 or 2013. It's the one XCC made with Pop Bob.
Interesting. I'm unfamiliar to that one.
And then he gave us a tour of it before we built it, which was awesome. It's on the archive.
That's
And
awesome.
there's another build that I don't think it's on the archive. It's like a castle with Police Mike and Passy, and it's really cool. Medieval, he had screenshots of what it looked like, so we just built the entire thing, including the signs, based on these screenshots. And that was another big one. And then we did like the original Jesus statue, like the first one that was made. And,
Oh wow, that's pretty crazy. What's the history on the
Yeah, that's-
original Jesus?
so that's as far as we got so far, but
Do you know what year that the original Jesus was made?
I'm trying to remember. I'd like to say 2014, but I could be wrong. It might be a little older.
That's pretty crazy. What got you, other than like the fit videos, were there any other things that got you into the lore or old 2B history?
Yeah, like the whole history thing. Like I'm a huge history buff. I love history. It's like my thing, right? So to have like a playable Minecraft server where there's like history and lore and like you can see the things people have built, it really.
Oh, you cut out there.
Me, I thought it was.
I think he's about to crash. Uh-oh.
Bro's dying.
Are you back
Oh
yet?
no.
Housemaster muted him on Discord, bro.
I know, he found out he got an insider, man.
Yeah, he found out who started the group and he ended it.
Like, oh shit, they're doing one on Bob. Meet him.
Yep, because obviously Housemaster, he's got his eyes set on this podcast,
Oh yeah, this is his priorities right here.
Yeah, okay, Siege, back to questioning.
So, what was like the biggest 2B base to you? What was the most influential one?
I really liked and I think it was NTF, right?
Or NFE?
NFE, excuse me. Yeah, I thought that one was really cool because, like, one, XCC was there and he was able to tell me about it, which was great. And two, it was like really, really ancient, speaking in terms of the server. So I thought the builds were really awesome. It was really like how close it was to spawn at that time because less people played, and so I thought it was really cool something like that could exist for so long. And there's still parts of the base that aren't completely destroyed yet, so to my knowledge.
It's true. At one point, I was there with XCC2 and he was rebuilding it. It was definitely a cool
Yeah,
place.
he does
to
that.
Yeah, just to
He'll
meet
go
like
to his
other
old bases. Yeah, he'll go to his old bases and he'll just fix them as best he can in his free time.
It's definitely a very cool thing to see. Just that players will go in the archive and then come back to these old bases, and suddenly they're rebuilt.
Yeah.
What would you say is your biggest find that you have found personally?
Trying to think. Well, I don't know. I don't think I'm not really sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really looked. I guess I've seen the ruins of NFP before, and
Okay.
I visited that, and I saw like the back in 2019, I saw that crater made out of bedrock at that one base, which was really cool. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yep. It's
It looks
crazy
like a
how
comet. Yeah.
Oh,
It's crazy how it's been removed.
I visited that too, I think.
I know. I'm glad I got to see it before it went away.
Do you think there's still bedrock or nether water that's out there that has not been ruined by the public?
I think there is probably, if the plugins didn't get it, there's probably some unloaded chunks where those things still exist. If I was being hopeful.
Mm-hmm. What does the plugin do? I'm unfamiliar.
I mean, I'm not an expert. I just know there's different plugins that like
Revert
disable
things.
like bedrock, for example. Yeah, revert them. Like glitch things.
Fair. Have you ever seen the illegal bedrock at the nether spawn? It's within like 5K.
I haven't. No, I haven't seen it actually.
There's some that has been. There's like a couple little stacks of bedrock. I'm trying to think. Is there any other things that you want to talk about that involve 2B lore or the history of 2B?
I can't really think of it. I do remember, I mean, it was cool hearing all XCC stories. He did say that because Police Mike sold his account to a different dude. So I remember that was the whole thing, right? But the guy who actually owned the original Police Mike account, I guess he still visits like old bases sometimes with XCC, and he told me that. I thought that was really cool.
I didn't know that. Very cool. Cool. Stappa, do you have any other questions?
Yep, I was just about to get started. Okay, with you talking about your favorite bases in 2B history, what do you think is your favorite base, if you have one that you have personally been at while it was active?
I don't know. I wasn't really part of. I would say I had a base called Nostalgia Town, which is where we would build all these historical things, and I had a melon farm that was like 3 biomes large. It was massive, and that was probably my favorite base that I've been a part of.
Okay, and how big was the base as a whole, since just for a melon farm being 3 biomes, that sounds like a pretty big base.
Oh, trust me, that made up most of it, the melon farm. I was expanding it until it got griefed, which was sad. They had to lava cast it because it was, I don't know, so much. I rebuilt it after they griefed it the first time, and then, yeah. But it was pretty big. I would say like 20% of it was to the historical builds, like maybe a quarter or half of a biome. Because a lot of the builds, like XCC's base for the jungle saucer thing, like the big part of that base was underground, so it didn't really take up that much like space visually. I have some screenshots if you guys want to see it in its prime.
Okay, I was
Is
gonna say
nostalgia-
if
Sorry.
you can send them after, that'd be fun. Back to you, Siege.
Is Nostalgia Town on the archive?
It isn't. Unfortunately, I didn't know how to do a world download until after it was griefed. I don't know. I felt a little secure, I guess, a little confident,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't world download it, which was a mistake.
Fair.
That is very sad. Well, did you learn your lesson? Are you ready to start world downloading?
Yeah, I'm on the path now. I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, that's very sad. I was gonna say I've had a couple instances of not world downloading things, so then having them get blown up.
Yeah, it's tragic.
Okay. Well, I think those were all of our questions for like nostalgia and old bases. So, to switch it up a little, I want to know what made you quit 2B for the first time.
So I quit a little bit after the Donkey Dupe was patched. The reason why was just because like I had like things to do in real life, and I don't know. I had some friends, but our connection wasn't really like as tight as my friends now. Where we like VC every night and have a really good time. They were just like buddies, and that kind of pushed me away from being super active, which is kind of why I quit. That and the Donkey Dupe kind of cut off my source of wealth.
That's very sad. Then, along with that, what brought you to come back to 2B after you quit? And then also, just how long did you stay inactive?
I don't know. It's like 2B is like weird like that. Like people can quit it, but they can't quit it. Does that make sense? Like people always come back. It's like
Yeah.
it's hard to quit. Part of the reason I rejoined was so I had just come back from an deployment in the army in Syria, right? And I was having a little bit of a hard time like adjusting, and I don't know. I was just like a confused, sad individual. And I remember like, oh, 2B, I had a lot of fun on there. It was a great time. So I gave it a shot, and I just really kicked off for me. It pulled me back.
Okay. And then after that, did you immediately notice what was different? Like, did it feel different when you started playing again?
Oh, for sure. Like the chat was the first giveaway. Like I didn't see the bot spamming anymore. People were still being pretty rancid in chat, so it didn't quite become like what it is now, but I could tell it was changed.
Okay, and then, did you change during that time when you stopped playing? Like, did the way you wanted to play change, or like your view on the server change at all during that time?
Yeah, I'd say I wanted to like meet more people and like make actual meaningful connections instead of just like nerding out about the history and the lore and stuff. I actually wanted to participate a lot more, and I was different that way.
Okay. And then, if that was what was changing for you when you were not playing, has anything changed as you've been playing 2B about like you as a person? Has anything changed about you and just how you act? And then also like, has your view changed about the server and what you think it is?
Yes. So I think I grown up gotten older since when I first originally played. I kind of cared. I kind of everyone had things where they want to blow something up or do X, Y, and Z. But I definitely wanted to help like new players more. I kind of wanted to get them started on their journey so they don't quit off the bat, which something like when I originally started I would have never even thought of doing. I would have just been like, oh, fuck those guys. Like, but now I feel like I get a lot of fun out of helping other people, which is how I've changed, I guess. And
Okay.
the server, the culture is kind of different. It's definitely a lot more. It's still toxic, but it's just a lot less, I'd say, because a lot of people that played in 2019, including myself, have kind of grown up and matured. So it's kind of better in that regard now.
Okay. And then, how do you feel with you liking to help new players? How do you view new players just as people, like when you first meet them? It's like, what makes them different from established players on the server?
I think they haven't quite. Oh, did we lose somebody?
Oh. We lost somebody.
Also, sorry. So to answer your question, I feel like established players, I feel like they're more set in their ways, you know? Like,
Yeah.
they kind of know who they want to be. They kind of act the way they want to be. New players, I want to kind of help them out because, like, their first impression of people here and the culture and who they want to be is the most important impression. Like, they can, if you're a jerk to them, you know, if you're a dick, if you're like, oh, fuck you, like, leave the server, you're trash, they're gonna end up being like that in 2 years, you know, when they're the people who have time in game, and they're gonna be douchebags. That's fine. It's just they'll be toxic and they'll be childish, and when I see new players, I see potential to kind of turn them off that path and just be like fun guys to play with.
Okay. Well, anybody else in the VC got any questions? We might want to start wrapping it up soon. Is that
I think that's it for me.
Okay, well, just a couple last things. What do you think is the 2B experience? Like, what is the thing that everybody joins and, like, gets when they play? Like, is it just escaping spawn? That was what the 2B experience is for a new player, or is there something else that has to happen for you to really understand the server?
I think understand the server. I think it just takes time, you know? Like, the server is awesome because you can do anything you want, right? And I think people just need time to figure out who they want to be, you know? Like, when there's no restrictions on what you can do, you can choose to be, you know, anybody. And a hard question to answer because each person is different, you know?
Yeah.
Like, each person's gonna just follow their own path. I think once they get out of spawn and they leave and they start exploring and meeting people, that'll kind of, like, the way they interact with those people, what they do to the builds they find, will kind of, like, you know, when they could do anything they want, will kind of, like, shape them into who they want to be.
Okay, so you think that, like, each 2B player right off the bat is, like, they're gonna have a different experience based on what their goal is with the server, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, can you say, this is a very open-ended question, but can you say something either really funny or really eye-catching so that I can put it in the title and thumbnail of the video? Is there anything just wild you can say right now?
I got a riddle for you.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
Okay, so there's 3 people sitting around a table, right?
Yep.
There's a good lawyer, a bad lawyer, and the tooth fairy. There's $1 on the table, right? And the lights turn off. And they turn back on and the $1's gone. Who took it?
Wait, who were the 3 people?
A good lawyer, a bad lawyer, and a tooth fairy.
The good lawyer?
No, it's the bad lawyer, because the good lawyer and the tooth fairy don't exist.
Okay,
Come on,
that's
laugh. That was funny. That was funny. Laugh.
Ha. Okay, well,
go.
that's gonna be the title now, but I'm only gonna take part of it, and so that it's, like, out of context.
Good, excellent.
Okay, last question this time. Does vape pens eat ass?
Sure does.
Okay, I won't stab you then. Well, thank you for coming to the oh crap.
Sure, thanks for having me.
She says, "Don't shoot me, I'm pregnant with a baby." And I shot her anyway.